Hello and welcome to this lecture. So in this lecture we'll go back to this main because we have created this label.py. So in the upcoming lecture we'll just define the much and more complicated labels. So for now we'll just stick to this build 0. So we'll go to this main.py and we'll just go down here, and after this sling action we'll just create now some of these labels. So we'll just create the label first. So this label will be called as from here. So we haven't imported this label, so first we'll import that. So we'll say from label.py import, that is to import labels. So after that we can use this label now. So just create the instances first, that would be label here, and this label will be created as this label, and just pass now some of the parameters here. So first will be pics, so just pass here a pics. Second will be column, just pass here column, that is columns. And third will be beams and passes beams, and fourth will be space, so passes the space. And just give the label dot number, that means which number you want to load, and obviously it should be default as 0. And we'll say label dot load label now. So this function will be called, that is this load label. Instead of just calling this manually this build 0, we'll just call this function, that is load label. So we have just now loaded the label, so we have to handle some of the inputs from the user now. So for that we'll say while. So this will be our main game loop, that means all of the things will be inside this loop. So first we'll say while running. So if you wonder what this running was, basically while creating this base of the physics, we have something here. You can see that we should have here something that is running equal to true, then that was basically here. So running equal to true, so that means while the running equal to true, we'll just handle here the inputs. So how this input will be handled? So let me quickly copy the code I have written in the notepad, so we could just save our time, and I'll explain you what is really going on there. So it's a really easy code, so you have seen this multiple times, that the event handling, how this event will be handled. So let me just quickly paste it here and show you what is really happening. So first we'll just get the event from the user from this pygame.event.get, and we have used this multiple times in our lectures. So after that, this quit is basically this part, that is this part is to quit when you just press that cross button of the console, output console. After that we have something, this is to toggle the wall. This is to toggle the wall. We have this key down, and you can also use this key W. And after that we have important function, and that is to provide this gravity here with this key down and ks. And the main function here we'll work with is basically this function and this function. So these two functions will work with this mouse basically. So what this function, so basically what this statement is really going on. So it will check basically if the mouse is getting pressed, and if the mouse is inside that, basically let me just open that image first. So it should be here in the sling. So it will check if it is inside this position or inside this boundary. Basically if you just click outside this boundary, it will not respond. That means if you click mouse outside this sling position, then it will not respond, and if you click in this position, then it will respond. So that is for this, basically getting the mouse is inside this 250 and greater than 370, and similar this condition is to check if the mouse is pressed, and it should be well inside this sling basically. So after that we have this event, that is mouse button up, and we'll just do something, that is release bird from here. So when this is pressed, mouse button is pressed, we'll just release the bird. So let's write some code here. So first will be mouse, after this mouse is pressed, we'll do mouse pressed is false now. so as to roll back again. And I'll say if level dot number of bird, so number of birds should be greater than 0 basically. So if it has left, then or basically if the number of bird is greater than 0, we'll just continue with the game. So that will be if level dot number of bird is greater than 0, that means you have to do something, that will first decrease this bird after you hit, and secondary we'll just create this time first, that will be time dot time, this will be current time, and just multiply by 1000 in order to just multiply here. Just first call this time, and after that we'll just multiply into 1000, that is to convert into the second. And I'll say x naught here will be 154 and y naught will be 156. So what is this x naught and y naught? Is not x0, so basically it is let me say it is not x, it is 156 here, and it should be not x0, it should be x naught, not 0. So what is this basically, x naught and y naught? So this is the distance to move at most maximum, that is the when you stretch that, so this is the maximum distance the bird can move basically. So after that what you can do is we'll just check if this mouse distance is basically greater than the rope length. If it is the case, then you have to do is really easy, that is the mouse distance should be now a rope length, because now the mouse distance was basically the highest. So this is basically the condition when you just go to the sling, and when you have rope length that is shorter basically, and when you just click here, so if the rope length was up to here but you just press the mouse up to here, so it should not respond, basically the length should be up to here. So that means you have to just assign the mouse distance now to the rope length. If you just drag mouse distance greater than the rope length, just assign rope length as in mouse distance now. After that we'll just check if x mouse, that is distance that the mouse has moved, is less than sling x plus 5. So if it is less than sling x plus 5 is basically when we just drag this basically the rope, but it is less than this distance. So if you have here distance, what if you have here but it is less than the maximum, that is displacement or maximum stretching power, then what we're gonna do is we'll create the bird, and we'll say bird, that is the basically our instances of this bird, and I'll say just here mouse distance comma angle. So we haven't imported this bird class first, so import that from character, that should be character.py, import bird here. So we'll use now bird from this down here. So next thing what you're gonna have is after this angle you just give the x naught, that is O here, and y O here. So this will the bird, so bird should be when you just get me just sling here, so when you just give here position, so bird position should be here. So that was the main case of creating this bird. So after that we'll just append these birds in this birds basically, so append that bird in this bird array or a list. So after that what you're gonna have is else if there is a shorter length basically than that of rope length, what you're gonna have is bird, we'll just make this bird as a bird, and another that will be the minus of mouse distance basically now, and just give the angle and x O and y O, and similarly the space. So we have left here space, so just pass that space. Space is basically a body, or you can say shape of this bird. So after that we'll just append this bird also in this birds, so just append it in this birds list, and after that what you're gonna have is we'll check for the level load. Now we'll say something that is if this let me just put it here, it should be after else, and I'll check if the level dot basically number of birds, if the number of birds of the level is equal to 0, that means you have to just in the game. So for that we'll just say t2 is time, just get the time of it. So we have created this now while running. So what we're gonna do here is, after now this a quick check of this bird, now the next thing what we're gonna do is, just after this event we're gonna have, so event is, let me see where this event is basically. So event is this position, so let me check it once. So after this event, yes, that was the event. So what we're gonna have is this x mouse distance and y mouse distance. Just get that position of the mouse, that will be here, that is the mouse dot get position. And after the mouse position is stored in x mouse and y mouse, what you're gonna do is, we'll do bunch of stuff here. That is, first we'll draw background of our game. So firstly we'll just draw background, and after that we'll just make something that will be drawing first part of the sling. So let's go to here, draw background, and just make the background here. So first, how to make a background? So first we have to fill, and that would be like this, and just fill is to just give here it, that should be fill, just you should pass tuple here. So that will be 130 comma 200 and 100. So let's pass that, and after that you fill with the color. What you're gonna do is, we'll just bleed now, bleed. And what should you bleed with? So we'll bleed with this background, and there should be two here, so there is not only there is background. So after this background should be bleed in 0 comma minus 50. So this will be the position to just bleed this background. You can check this background will be bleed, and after that what you're gonna do is, so let me check here first, it is background or background 2. So where do we load that image? That was at the top, so it was background basically, and we imported this background 3.png. that means we have this image. So this will be our background. So you can also import this background. So this was really nice background, this was also nice, and this was really good. So we'll just import this third background. And now what you're gonna do here is, after just bleeding that background, we'll now do, that is, draw the first part of the sling, that is here. We'll just draw first part. So first we'll create the rectangle, and you know how to create the rectangle, that is from rect function, and pass the position here, that is first will be 50 and 0, and just give the width and height, that would be 70 and 220. So after creating this rectangle, just bleed the sling in that rectangle. So that would be bleed here, and just sling image, we have sling image here, and that sling image should be bleed at position 138 comma 420. So you should just visualize this point and just get the surface as rectangle. So sling image is basically, when you loaded that for the first time, you should have here a sling image, and that was sling3.png. that means this was sling3.png, this was that image, and you can see here. So that was the basically drawing first part of the sling. So that was the first part only of the sling. So now what you're gonna do is, draw the bird in the weight line, draw bird in weight line. That means when you have some bird in this tree, so some bird is here, and there should be the other bird that is waiting here, that is waiting in a line. So let's draw that. So we'll say for point in bird path, what you're gonna do is just draw the circle for me, that is from this function, that will be circle, and it will surface will be screen, and give the white color here, and point, and after that we'll just give a size here, and radius will be 0. So after that, what you're gonna do is next thing, you should now draw left behind the bird, and let's do that. So first we'll check levels for that. So if the level and number of bird is greater than 0, that means you have more number of bird, and so I'll check for I in range level dot number of bird -1, because we have now projected with one bird, and that should be something that is x equal to 100, and this is random, so you can choose any number here. So I'll say I into 35. So this is basically a distance that will change in this x, and the y will be constant here. So we'll just breathe with this, so it should be inside this for every time you change in this range you should breathe. So that means screen dot breathe, and what should you breathe with is this red bird, and just give here a tuple, and tuple will constant x, and we'll just have 508, which is the constant for y. So this is the trial that is left for the bird. So after that, what you're gonna do is we'll just draw now sling behavior. So in order to check this sling behavior, we'll just firstly check if the mouse is pressed or not. So that means if the mouse is pressed, and similarly there should be some amount of a bird, so that means there should be number of bird that is greater than 0. So in that case we'll just call this sling action function. So there should be the two condition that should be fulfilled, that is first is mouse should be pressed, and there should be the number of bird that is greater than 0. So after that, what we'll call is else. If there is not, then firstly we'll check for two condition. So if time dot time, so this time dot time is basically for the pause condition. So I'll say in 1000, so that means if the time, so current time is in the second, we converted it in second, and minus t1, that is minus t1 is greater than 300. So you can just work with these numbers, and after that we'll say level dot number of birds should be also greater than 0 in order to play. And in this case we'll just breathe now. First we'll have to breathe, and that will be like screen dot breathe in the screen, and that should be red bird should be breathe obviously, and in the position that will be 133 and 426. So what are you gonna do next? That is basically if you make this number smaller. So what if you make this 130 and basically 426 can't we make it smaller? So basically this is y. But what if you make this 130, that is what if you make more than 130 or less than 130, that will be this bird will appear that is after the sling basically. So if you create something that is if you say here in the case of 130, if you say 150, then the bird will be after this sling. So here is sling, so it will be after this sling. And if you create this one less than 130, maybe 110, and that will be before this sling. So 130 is exactly position for the sling that is to appear in this sling, that is the bird will appear in the sling. And after that we'll say, so next what you can say is we have completed with this time, but we'll have to check it again. That is what if there is no number of bird, or what if this t1. So if you wonder what is t1 here, so we have used that t1 here, it was not here. So you can check inside here. So it was used as in if the number of bird is greater than 0, so you use this time dot time and multiply by 1000, and you assigned it here, and you just check it if it is of greater than rope length, and similarly if it is basically this values are checked, and so it will be divided or minus with this t1, and that means if you get time elapsed, this is basically for the pause condition is greater than 300, then if there is a number, then just will bleed again. So after that what we're gonna do is we'll just see here, we'll just draw the line, And how to draw a line, obviously the screen will be surface and color, so give the color is 000, and the position will be sling here. So this is the basically start position. So sling x minus sling y, and the displacement should be -8 here. So this is important because we have static sling x and sling y, but the static should not be basically this position, or the y position should not be now static, it should be uppermost, so it should increase by -8. So that is displacement basically. So after that, what are you gonna do? So this sling x and sling y was when the sling was static. Now we have to deal when this is stress, so that means we have to deal with this string sling to x and sling to y. So let me say sling to x here, and similarly sling to y, and that should be displaced by 7 unit. And let me give now, that would be the width. So width will be here 5. So after this, what you're gonna do is we'll just now use this bird, and this bird have to be something that is bird to remove. So let me make a list, that is a new list, that will be like bird to remove. So this bird to remove is when you just hit, or when you just stress the catapult and remove, or just release that catapult, then there should be bird to remove. And similarly we'll say pig to remove, pig to remove, and that will be also empty list. So firstly we'll set a counter to do that, and this counter will be incremented by 1. And now what you're gonna do next is we'll just draw few things here, and this is important. And after doing this, all of the things, we'll just run our game. So first we'll be drawing our birds, second will be drawing our, basically not drawing, now we'll remove birds and pigs, we'll just remove here. And similarly the next thing what you're going to do is drawing our static line, so that will be static line here. And after that we'll just draw pigs, and let me see, after that we'll just have to, after that we have to deal with, obviously we have column and beam. Yes, we have to draw column and it is column and beams. And we'll just do something, what is left here now, let me check it once. So there will be, okay, we have to just update the physics again, so we'll update it. And update, after updating this physics, we'll just do something that is, we have done here what is left here. So we have draw background, we have draw first part, okay, we have to draw second part. So draw second part of sling, and if there is any task do we'll just encounter it while we are doing this. And we'll also play our game for the first time, we'll just get the basic layout for our game, and we'll continue improving our game. So this much for now, see you in the next.